All right. Confusion.
Only people can see the shenanigans that go on.
And we are live, people.
Hooray! If anybody is still out there waiting, congratulations, we're now live.
I am sorry about that.
It's all Aaron's fault. He was having mic issues.
That's what I get for getting my microphone.
Well, you should not hire a guy named Mike. They are notoriously bad employees. Come on, man.
All right, so since Mr. Carroll Science, I don't know if he's checking out what we're talking about, but we are talking about 2019 in the making community, what we expect to see in the future for 3D printing and 3D printers.
Well, who wants to go first?
I'll let Garth go first since he was the first one in.
Oh, I'm kind of stuck for opinions on what's to come because there's kind of a lot of things that could potentially happen. Because I know someone who's working on a printer. I'm not going to say much about it, but to pull it off, there's potential for multi, which would be very interesting. But I don't know how far along he is with it. But that would be cool. Whether that'll be next year or 5 years, I don't know. But and pull it off, that'd be a very, very interesting feat. But yeah, in terms of FDM, what's to come, probably user-friendly multi-material machines.
Puts me on the screen.
You know, I'm not really up with that kind of thing, so I don't know. What do you guys think's coming for FDM land?
Well, I know that E3D has their behemoth of a tool changer that they're coming out with. So that way you can change between 3D printing and CNCing if you want it, so you can add it and subtract from it if you really want to, I guess. Which is really cool. So you can have obviously multiple materials on there. So you can have one set up for, say ABS or PLA, whichever filament of your choice, and then you can have your dissolvable filament on another one, so you don't have to worry about contamination or your purge block as much for those. So you can kind of go through and kind of clean those out. And if you have a wipe wall for each nozzle, so it kind of cleans off that old filament for it, that will exponentially help the artifacting on the outside from changing your head on your printer.
Have any of you guys used any of these dual purpose machines? I'm curious. I got a question if you have.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the difference between a 3D printer and a CNC. I mean, my 3D printer, most of them are pretty accurate. And when I look at a CNC, I think about how much, I mean, it's like aggression. When you watch those things cut into a piece of aluminum or something, I mean, it is just straight up power. Let's destroy something. And I just imagine, like, wouldn't the vibration and everything, isn't that going to throw off the calibration of your printer? How accurate could a machine like that really be?
I have yet to use a CNC. I know Calvin is the one of us I know has used a CNC machine so far. Excuse me. The vibration shouldn't be that much. I mean, it all is going to vary on the spindle that you have. And really, the vibration from that shouldn't be awful bad, unless something's out of whack, where it literally just sits there and shakes uncontrollably, like a controller, like the rumble pack for the controllers. It shouldn't be as bad like that. What are your thoughts, Calvin?
Well, my thoughts are really, at the end of the day, what Mr. Carroll Science said is true. When these machines are cutting through things, it is just sheer power. Your average professional milling machine has about 20 peak horsepower. And if we're running like a 2-inch tool trying to cut material off to smooth it, we'll be pulling easily 75% of the continuous spindle load if we're really trying to be aggressive here. But the main key is the machine needs to be rigid to begin with. So the problem that I have with people taking a 3D printer and turning it into a CNC machine is the loads on a 3D printer are very, very tiny. The loads on a CNC machine, comparatively speaking, are extremely high. So to make it work, you would actually need to take you're better off taking an actual CNC machine, and it's completely doable dropping the components to 3D print on there. I think the reason why the 3D printing / CNC is really popular is because you can, as Joel showed a while ago with that dies one that has like the rotating turret.
Yeah.
What they were able to do was literally over extrude the model on purpose, print some of it, mill it, very precisely, then come along and print more, mill precise, print more, mill precise. Or in the professional sector, DMG Mori, and I'll post a link to it in the chat, has this really interesting machine that literally, it's almost like a MIG welder. In spray mode, it just sprays metal on. Then it can, like turn it to make it a really smooth, precise surface. Print more, mill that, print more, and mill that. But that's a very expensive professional machine. So while I think that would happen, I still think it's better to keep a 3D printer and a CNC machine separate at this point, just because for most people, the mechanics and the strength of it is well outside the realm of LMAU rods. I mean, the CNC machine that I have weighs over about, I'm guessing when fully assembled, about 200 pounds after I threw the epoxy granite into it, which really helps. But even then, that machine still has some slop in it when it runs. It's like, if I try and do things too fast, and I can just hear it chattering. Now, mind you, it is a cheap import mill, so that doesn't help. But that kind of gives you an idea. And I'm running no bigger than a 1/4-inch tool. On average, I'm more about 1/8 of an inch. So just keep that in mind.
Yeah. And Tom Sandlatterer actually had said, don't turn a 3D printer into a CNC. He actually has videos on that. I mean, he's done it, and he suggests not to do it. I mean, just like Calvin was saying, that it's not robust enough for the spindle head for it. Now, there's one spindle head that I think would work on one of those. I'll have to find it at some point in time. It is separate though. You got your spindle head, which is here, but you got a cable that runs all the way to your motor. So your motor and your spindle head are completely separate. But those ones from Punish Props, they use something like that for his. He's got a little grinder that does that, like with a compressed air or something. It's pretty much that same type of deal, that you could get away with it a little easier if you were doing a 3D printer with a spindle on it.
Yeah, that sounds like a die grinder to me.
That's it. Yes, a die grinder. Thank you.
Yeah, those spin ridiculously fast, so the amount of load you're going to have is pretty low, but your biggest issue then becomes heating up of the material.
Yeah. So, and you'd have to mount the motor above or just above and behind your 3D printer to keep it out of the way.
Yeah, it's a cool concept, but I really don't think it's kind of like trying to make, how would I explain it? It's kind of like trying to cross a moped with like a racing motorcycle, like a little Vespa with a racing motorcycle. Yes, you can do that, but it's really not a smart idea.
Yeah.
And for those who can use it, it's a very, very specialized piece of equipment at that. So I will say, though, I mean, I hate to sound like I'm somebody who's trying to just keep things like, oh, this is only for the professionals. But I really feel like, I mean, a 3D printer is dangerous enough. I got a little burn on my hand because I had some molten plastic land on it. That's nothing compared to what a CNC machine can do. It could rip your finger to shreds if you're not careful. So also just from the safety aspect, a 3D printer is leaps and bounds safer than a CNC mill is, just based off of what you're dealing with. So,
Unless it's an ANET.
What's that?
Unless it's an ANET.
those need to ship with a free AFO Fireball or 3.
Oh, that's hilarious. Give me 1 second.
I'll say though, I have an ANET A8, and personally, I've never run into any issues like that. It's worked perfectly right out of the box, and it's my second best printing printer that I own.
Which is your second best?
My ANET.
It's my first best.
Well, honestly, I think part of the problem is the QC on those machines is so hit and miss. It's like you could get one that has a bad heated bed that shorts out within 15 minutes of someone getting it. And when you consider how much power is going through the bed, it's very easy to start a fire with that. I mean, true story, when Jimmy and I were goofing around with the 120 volt heated bed off camera, we actually started to make the lights in his set start to buzz for some reason, because the amount of power it was drawing was so much that you'd literally see the lights like flick back on when we unplugged the wires. When we actually stuck the thing down on a base, I think because it actually had something to take some of the heat, it wasn't so bad. But yeah, the biggest problem with those machines is the hot end. I mean, anytime you have that much power running through something, the potential for a fire and a short and blowing things out just goes through the roof.
Yeah. Well, and as I think, telling Mr. Carroll Science that I replaced the hot end for my printer, my A8, because the last time I had run a print on it, it had failed while I was away, and it actually stuck to the heater block. And there was a big, huge, I think it was Jimmy. It was Jimmy I was telling. And so there was a big glob just stuck on the hot end. Well, the nozzle had gotten twisted from hitting parts of the print. So that's how that got loose and spewed all out of the extruder nozzle. And then it welded itself to the entire heater block, which also, after I got the thing off, which was simple, I heated it up, pull it off, that was fine. The heating thermistor to it would not come out while it was cold. It was welded in there with plastic. So I pulled it out after I heated it up, and the thermal runaway is not set up on A8s. So you have to literally go in and enable that yourself in the settings. And there's a lot of people starting off are not going to know how to do that.
Yeah,
go into the settings and run through this whole set of code to figure out what you have to change.
No, the thing that frustrates me about it all is the fact that thermal runaway protection is pretty much just some parameters and a couple of lines of code. I mean, I partly blame whoever, I mean, I don't know the whole backstory, but I think it's a double-sided problem. I think part of the problem is we have the developers for the machine not pretty much hardwiring thermal runaway into the software where it's defaulted on. And then the other problem is we have people who just don't know anything, who are just buying the machines and don't realize the danger of not having thermal runaway protection. So I partly blame it's a multifold problem. It's partly people buying the stupid machines in the first place. It's not, it's a multifold problem. It's frustrating is what it is.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I had that heated up, and it, to get the plastic off, I turned it off, kind of brushed it, Well, I heated it up again, and that thermistor just went like red. It was glowing.
Oh, I'll
And
bet.
oh my gosh, it freaked me out. It was about foot, 2 foot, 2 feet away from my face, and well, my surge protector that I have it on, because guess what? It's an AA. It doesn't have a switch to turn on and off for the power. That's just how they have it. And so I use a surge protector to turn it on and off, and I had to reach around to get to it. So, and I switched that off as fast as I could.
No, to me, the fact, I mean, it doesn't even have like a physical power switch on it. You have to plug and unplug it.
Right.
Oh my gosh.
Yep.
You guys are kidding me, right? I mean, I understand this is a budget machine, but the G-Tech A10M that I have printing over there in the corner, that thing's a $300 printer, and its $200 brother, the A10, they have this amazing thing called a power switch built in. It's mind-boggling. I mean, I don't know who thought up of it, but they deserve like a Nobel Prize or something like that because it's a revolutionary idea.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah,
So
that's
glad I
and
don't
that's
have problems like that.
Garth's like, I do resin printing, and I don't know what you guys are talking about.
I buy it by the liter from China, so I'm good.
I've actually never purchased resin. I'm still using what came with my printer.
Wow.
It did run out, but when I actually picked up my printer, he only had like 5 or 6 liters on hand or something. So he just said he'd owe me, and then he came and delivered like another 10 liters about a month or two ago. So it was
Wow.
very nice of him.
Hey, Teresa's in the house. How's it going?
Oh my gosh, we have people in chat now. Woo!
I know.
I
Not one
can't see the
person.
chat. Sorry. I'm not ignoring you people. I just can't find it.
That's what happens when you sell your soul to Fusion 360.
I'm actually selling it to Mesh Mixer.
You down under people in your Fusion and Mesh Mixer.
Sometimes you just don't have a choice.
Gotta do what you gotta do.
Yep.
So what do you guys think about price points of printers coming up in 2019? I mean, 2018, we saw the Ender 3, $189, and it prints like a dream. You know, so many sub $200 printers. Are we going to get any lower priced printers, or are we just looking at improving the quality now that we have a baseline of all these really, really cheap printers?
I'm sure there will be cheaper printers. Whether they're good or not is a different matter. But I'm sure there will be cheaper ones. Hopefully, though, the whole Ender thing has kind of set a new entry point baseline or something in terms of quality price ratio, because it does seem like a pretty decent spot. And if components continue to come down, maybe they can start adding things like, run out sensors and gradually kind of build it up over time. But hopefully we'll start seeing more better printers for a reasonable price.
Yeah, I think the price point that they set for the Ender 3 is a fairly decent one, and I've heard multiple people talk about, as it goes on more and more, the cost for printers should be going down. I mean, it's not going to be a $30 to $50 printer. That's just stupid if you think that you're going to get a printer for that price. And I know there's a lot of people that fell for the scams of, oh, you get a printer for like $35 or $29 or something with free shipping. It's not how it works. And
speaking of which, how are those sunglasses treating you, Calvin?
When we cleared out Jimmy G's camper, we couldn't find him. Maybe Danielle ran off with them and I wasn't looking because I had my face shoved in that really good baked potato, but who knows? No, I can't even remember where those went or if I even got anything out of it.
Are you going to send them back?
But,
No,
so-
but
go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say is, I mean, at the end of the day, I think what the biggest problem we're going to run into is I think we're going to hit a point where, yes, you might be able to do like the 101 Hero for $50, but it's not, that thing was horrible. It didn't print for anything. What the crap? Dude, I'm going to get a headache wearing those. I'm going to get a headache wearing them. I'm already getting a headache staring at the lights. No, but I think the biggest problem we're going to run into is, I mean, you can look at the 101 Hero, which they pulled off for $50. It didn't print for anything. I mean, I'm surprised it even didn't fall apart in the box. So I think the reality is, I think $200 is a good price point because if you dip it too low, you're going to get way too many people who just don't know what they're doing getting into it. And by setting the price bar a little bit higher, it's actually a good thing because then it forces people to really think through, do I want this or not, which you actually want with something like this. And then I'm hoping that things like thermal runaway protection, this magical thing called power switches, maybe better drivers and things like that will become a thing. And the $200 printers will actually become really, really good as the price of the electronics goes down because more and more people are demanding. Crap, knocked my mic over them.
He's real excited, man. You gotta calm down there, Calvin.
I had a few too many Swedish fish, so that's my problem. It's called sugar rush. If Daniel Larray is in here, he'd be like, dude, we don't eat those in Sweden.
I actually sent him a link to this. I've not gotten a minute yet.
Or Teresa's saying, look at the hoonie. Oh, gosh.
Where's Jimmy? Where's Jimmy? Oh, wait. ASMR.
His ears are burning. Jimmy's ears are burning. He's hearing hoonie. He's like,
I'm not going to do his line, but we all know what it's going to be.
You mean Jimmy's line of me so hoony?
I didn't say it.
You didn't have to, Calvin. We all knew exactly what you were thinking.
Those who know will know.
Oh, yes.
But yeah, as you're saying, the 101, yeah, they sold a 3D printer, but it didn't do anything. I mean, it's not worth it. If you want a 3D printer per se, you can get yourself a 3D pen, and that's going to work better than the 101.
Yeah, and honestly, I don't have any art skills with 3D pen, but I've always thought if you wanted to, quote, weld a bunch of prints together, a 3D pen, you could almost use like a little MIG welder, just go zzz, and just stitch things together, do like one really hot pass, and then just come along and just kind of like stitch together multiple passes after that and just build it up and then sand and fill it down. But the trick would be you'd have to bevel the edges of your part so you can get maximum contact area and build it up like you do in the real world with welding. But I just haven't had time to goof around with that idea, but I want to at some point.
Yeah,
Devin put it in his last video with his little fold-up dodecahedron things, because one of them, the little joint bits broke, and he just basically held them together and used his 3D pen to weld the joints on the inside, and worked really well.
Which person was that again?
Devin from Make Anything.
Make Anything. Yeah, Devin Montez.
Yeah.
Got it.
That's one person I should have invited to this stream, Devin.
Well, Joel Telling did a video maybe like a year ago with Build Around from Punished Props, and he was testing different types of adhesives for 3D printed parts. And so he tried all kinds of different things, super glue and epoxy and everything. And one of the methods that he tested was using a 3D pen to weld joints together. And it wasn't the strongest, but it was pretty strong from what I remember.
Yeah, they had done some friction welding too. Take a piece of filament and put it in a Dremel and then just friction weld it.
Mm-hmm.
Mind you, this is
Depends on what
the
holding together too.
I mean, it would be interesting to go back and redo that now with 3D Gloop, which is what I just used to tack the top of this on, because it was 3 pieces. This was supposed to thread in, and then this was the body, and that was a separate print because of the LEDs up there. So I needed it in multiple pieces so I could assemble it when it was all done. But I have to say that it would be interesting to see how it compares with 3D Gloop, because that stuff bonds like crazy with PLA. I was blown away.
Yeah, I need to get me some of that.
Seriously, it is amazing stuff. I at first thought, okay, fine, Joel's being a little hypey type about it, but I'm like, you know what? The sample cost me only like $2 or $3 to get it shipped, and I'm like, you know what? In the worst case scenario, if it's crap, no big deal. I'm only out a couple bucks, but it's very, very good stuff. I would recommend though getting it in the squeeze bottle, because trying to brush it on is a bit of a pain, because it's kind of has this like almost like this dishwashing detergent kind of consistency. It seems kind of viscous,
Yeah,
but then when you get it in a small drop
almost.
form, it just wants to fall off.
Yeah, it kind of looked like a gel from what I had seen of everybody using it.
Yeah.
It kind of reminded me of the super glue gel that they have out there. You brush it on, kind of like that, which works and sucks at the same time, because it sets up whenever you're done using it, you keep your container for it for a while and not having to use it. And you go back to use it, that stuff is still kind of gel liquid, but it gets harder to where you can't use it at all.
I've learned that I can go to the dollar store and buy a 4-pack of little mini super glues for $1, and then it's just one-time use. You use it for one project, and then you just throw the tube away, because trying to open it up and reuse it a second time is just such a pain in the butt.
You can go join my dad in that department.
Yeah, I've actually got a couple of those like that from Harbor Freight. I've not used yet, but I had stockpiled myself from Aldi. They had Loctite. I had a stockpile of Loctite super glue. Just the whole plastic, that you got these little parts that you squeeze on the ends, and then the entire hard part of the plastic, and you just got this twist top that you take on and off. And that has worked really well to do with 3D printing and whatever I'm putting together, really. To just reuse. I mean, you don't get a whole lot out of it. It's probably around the small one-use squeeze tube that Mr. Carroll Science is talking about, but it still works, and I'm able to use it multiple times.
Well, that's cool. Bear with me, guys. I'm crashing here fast, so I'm probably gonna have to jump out of the stream shortly, because I need to get stuff ready for heading out to my friend's house tomorrow, so we can work on the gigantic Formbot T-Rex, hopefully, and maybe stand a chance of getting it to fire up again, but we'll see.
That'll be fun.
Yeah, aka the machine that Jimmy was staring at, going, "Oh my gosh, what is this piece of crap?" I don't blame him at all, though. That poor machine needs so much help. It's not even funny.
Yeah.
But
I got a Print Arbot. That's obviously a used one. It's an old one. It's a wood Arbot. So you got the whole wood frame, everything. and I've got to get that thing up and going at some point in time. I got another extruder nozzle for it, well, the whole hot end, to replace the one that came with it because it's the point the 2.85 millimeters, so like three millimeter filament that I don't have any of and I don't use, so I've got to just change out the hot end for it and get that going. I mean the heated bed I think is perfectly fine. The second part is that it does not have a screen, and I do a lot of SD card printing and not from computers, which helps to prevent the failure of a print by just using an SD card. I found. Also, my AH doesn't like to connect to my printer, to my computer for printing.
My A8 doesn't like to connect either. I think it's an ANAT problem. They just don't like to connect to anything. So
I use Idea Maker and it's like, all right, let's try to connect to it. No. Cura, no.
have you tried Repetier?
I have not. I figured I can't get a couple of these. Why even bother to try more whenever I have reliable prints coming off of an SD card compared to trying to go over being tethered to it and then, hey, guess what? My computer restarts because Windows likes to be an idiot and have their updates happen.
No, yeah, I hear you. I mean, my attitude is stick with what's brain fart. My attitude is stick with what works and don't live stream when you're really tired.
Well, that just makes a fun stream, Calvin.
What?
It makes for a fun stream, Calvin.
Yes, Jimmy G. Totally capitalize off the fact that I'm really tired, really cranky. It's always a great idea. Oh, if Jimmy watches this, he is so going to smack me next time he sees me. I heard you say that. That wasn't funny.
Well, the best part about doing a live stream with people who aren't sitting right next to you is that they can't reach over and slap you.
Don't even get me started on that. Don't even. Oh gosh. All right. Well, it's been fun, guys, but I'm crashing real fast here, so I'm gonna have to bow out. So.
All right, Calvin. Well, nice having you on, and we'll talk to you later. Have fun trying to get that monster to work.
Oh yeah. I'll put it this way: if it's a very big if, I'm going to be going down to my friend Ashley, who runs the Chip Builds channel. I'm going to be going down to her house tomorrow. I really don't know if I'm going to throw the printer in the car, and I've got the electronics in the car. I don't know if we have everything to get the machine going, but if we do decide to work on it, I'm hoping we will be able to live stream it. So we'll see about that for space and time reasons. But regardless, I want to try and get the thing going anyway. So I'll see how I feel in the morning, if I feel up for dragging it out to my car or not, and we'll go from there. But yeah, I'll keep you guys posted on social media if I do any kind of live streaming. And if I go to do work on the machine, I probably will do a live stream of working on it just because it'll be more interesting, but we'll see from there.
Well, it'll be nice to see. And Theresa, that's all right if you're the only one. It's my channel. There's not a lot of people that will be watching, so I'm not big like Calvin or Jimmy.
And I'm not big like all those people. Oh my gosh, they're like so big. My dad earlier today was like, wait, so how many subscribers does Jimmy have? Over 8,000. Is he monetized? Dude, he got monetized in his sleep.
He got like 58, and that's recently.
Well, it's because you need to print a Harry Calvin.
Actually, that's doable. All I need is Jimmy to walk around Calvin with his phone and take a whole bunch of pictures, and then we just toss it into a program to create a 3D model of Calvin.
I will see what I can do about that tomorrow, because that would be really funny.
Joseph Prusa has posted videos on how to do that.
Yeah, photogrammetry. I've done it before.
Yeah.
But
I'm not sure if I'd be able to do it on my laptop because it's old as crap, and I can't even do your editing program that you use, Calvin. I can't even put that on this.
yeah, I have to say the latest version of DaVinci Resolve that I'm running right now, it's nice, but it's a total resource hog, and there's times where I'll go to do things in the computer and it'll work fine, and it'll just randomly crash while the old one would just keep running through. But the problem is the old one was getting so old, I couldn't work with that, so it was just like I give up. I gotta do something different here. So
Yeah,
I'm
well,
doing what I can.
Oh, I understand. I usually use my phone or the GoPro app on my computer that I film with my GoPro or my phone and edit that stuff. I've got editing programs for the Mac, but that thing doesn't want to work. It's pissed me off on the programs. Like, hey, well, this is an older program. We don't want you to use it, but you can't do a newer one because your Mac's not new enough. It's got the hardware in it, so it's like,
Well, what you need to do, you need to get Calvin to put his hair up in a man bun. All right. And then all you have to do is just get him to sit down in a computer chair, and you just have him spin around during a stream, real slow. And then you just take screenshots and use those for your pictures.
There you go. But the problem with photogrammetry, you can't just do a circle of it. You got to go and you got to get a circle and you got to go up above. You got to get kind of a 360, 90-degree angle all around.
Well, but you don't need to know what's on the top of his head because you're going to do the hairy lion part. So all you need is just like a section, maybe from like here to here. The rest of it you can patch up in some sort of 3D modeling software, and you're good to go.
I'm pretty sure I could do that in Blender. Patch him up.
This is all I'm saying. Hashtag Harry Calvin. We need it.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
3D.
I mean, one way that you could do it is you could actually have me wearing like a bald cap or something like that. And then you could actually make a pretty accurate one. Because I know for a fact trying to do photogrammetry on hair, it ends in a disaster.
Yes, it does.
When you get a 3D capture of his face, I'll make like a full-on Calvin Caboose 3D model.
Oh gosh, don't even go there.
Photoshop.
Don't even. All right, well, I'm gonna leave you guys having fun plotting how to pull off the Harry Calvin. The real Harry Calvin is signing off for the night. Have fun, you guys. It's been a blast.
All right, later, Calvin. Take care.
Peace out.
All right. Now that he's gone, let's talk smack about Calvin. Now, okay, so yeah, that'll be a fun thing to try doing a Harry Calvin. So Garth, since you only do resin printers, what do you feel like the future is for resin printing?
Well, as I said earlier, multicolor, but I don't know. It's a bit hard to say from there. Like, there's kind of not a lot that I can think of that you could kind of do to advance where it is, apart from speed, perhaps. And that's coming along in some areas.
What about the Prusa resin printer?
I haven't seen anybody use it outside of the kind of preview that they showed when they sort of announced it. So it's a bit hard to say how much it's going to take off. I haven't even really seen the specs. I don't know if it's laser or DLP. Top of my head, can't remember. I think. Did that one have auto resin fill?
Yeah, I was supposed to have a sensor for resin or something, and it was supposed to inform you when it's low, or possibly refill it. Maybe I know it's been a while. I know Calvin's probably the one to truly know about this, which now he's gone, so we can just blame it on Calvin that we're not quite sure what it's supposed to do. Let me look up.
Yeah, I think like if it turns out to be a good machine, and it's a reasonable price point, I can see maybe a few more people getting into it. But I think people, for the most part, just need to stop being scared of resin, because pretty much any time you talk about resin, they're like, "Oh, it's dangerous. It's too much mess and it's bad for your health and all this kind of garbage." And yeah, you got to be careful. Sure, if you ingest it, it's not going to do you any favors. But general use, like, I don't think it's anywhere near as bad as people say. I've got an open vat of resin sitting in my living room 24/7. And
your health is fine, right?
My health was shot before I got that.
All right, so I pulled up the Prusa. So the original Prusa SL1 3D printer is based on the MSLA printing process. So it looks like it's got a LCD panel.
Okay,
and it
so
says UV LED to cure it. So it's doing an LED for it.
Well, if it is the right price point and people stop shitting their pants over the...
Yeah, so it looks like it's 1,500, 1,000. So originally it's 1,700. With right now it says that there's $100 taken off. So 1,600. Yeah. But I mean, it's
a bit on the expensive side, really.
Yeah.
I think if anyone can pull it off, it'd be Joseph, because he's got the name behind him for the FDM world. So I think that might make people a little more inclined to spend a little bit more. But they're going to have to really want it as well. Like people who, want to get a resin printer.
Well, and the Moai costs like what, $1,000 pretty much.
I'm not sure. Probably need to check with Calvin on that one. But yeah, the Moai is laser as well, so that's kind of different. A whole kind of different process, and probably a bit slower as well. But I think the real game changer in, I guess, semi-consumer market would be the bomb, or whatever the it's the big 300 by 300 Moai.
Okay. Yeah.
That might open up a lot of interesting things for people. Like, although there's resin printers out there that are that size or bigger already, like my secondary vat is 400 by 225 by 130, and I could get a vat as deep as 800, which would open up a whole new world of possibilities, but it would also probably cost me like close to $10,000 to fill it.
Yeah, no joke. That'd be a lot.
Yeah,
just to put all that in
400 by
there.
225 by 800. That's a lot of liters of resin.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I think
My,
I'd have a heart attack by that price point.
my
Well,
large now takes like 5 or 7 liters. My small one takes about 3 to 4, I think. And that's bad enough.
yeah, I think that's, you bring up an interesting point. That's one thing I could see happening in 2019 is the price of resin printing going down because, to me, a printer that costs $700 even to $1,000 at the lowest range is still too expensive for someone like me to afford.
Yeah.
And so I could see resin printing as technology improves, the resins get cheaper, the technology becomes cheaper. Yes, I know the Ono is, a faux pas to talk about in the 3D printing community because it was so terrible. But to think that we have the capability of making something that could potentially run off of a smartphone or a smart device, I mean, to me, that it shows that it's at least possible, even as crappy as it was. There's the possibility that it could actually exist. If you could get a resin printer down to as cheap as $300, then that gives someone like me the opportunity to actually purchase it.
Oh no, I completely understand. I mean,
I
my
don't
wife
see
and I just
why
had a
they
kid,
couldn't.
and there's no way I can afford something like Bruce's new printer.
It
You're
should
gonna,
in theory be possible because like the components themselves aren't really that expensive. Like the actual body of the machine itself would probably consume a good chunk of the cost because I know aluminium extrusions tend to be reasonably expensive compared to, thin aluminium sheets that run upside. Little LED LCD screens cost nothing.
yeah,
Uh, Basically, there's a feed screw and a build plate that you can screw on. So hardware-wise, there's not really all that much to them that you don't already find in your FDM printers. Um, it's mostly just software and resin. And on the software side of things, it shouldn't really be that expensive to produce something that can display an image, tell the build plate to move up, move down, display another image.
yeah,
There's no real reason for it. Like, obviously, something like my print is a bit different because it's got continuous mode and all that kind of stuff. But with the kind of prevalence of the consumer level machines now, and even slices like Cheetu DLP, which is open source, surely somebody would be able to slap together something that could run a small, cheap DLP printer.
yeah. I think it'd be definitely doable to make a small cheap one. I mean, it's not like you need like you said, like a 300 by 300 to make a cheap SLA or DPL printer, because if you want to make it cheaper to make less moving parts like the laser, you don't need to do laser. You can do a screen that has better resolution on the little pixels for which cures the light, which cures the resin, like the Ono, was saying it was going to do. You get that, you get your high res, like the the Anycubic, their resin printer, it has uh, this DPO. And I've seen really good quality prints come off of that, and that's like a $500 printer or less, maybe I remember right.
I'm not sure what particulars are of the photon, like whether they use strict daylight cure resins or whether it's got a
I want to say
UV component.
I want to say it's a UV one.
That needs to be us, guys. We've got the idea. We need to figure it out. Figure out a way. You know, they sell they sell those little magnifying lenses that go on your smartphone to take like, you know, microscopic photos with your smartphone. Attach one of those bad boys on the end of a laser pointer to give us an ultra sharp focus, you know, and then just have a little thing that just moves that thing around and draws a picture to cure that resin in that particular area. Look at that. We can make this thing for $100.
Yeah, and on
Charge
off,
$200 for it.
on
$1
off.
idea.
And it's some little motors to pull it around in different spots. There you go. Just take the little motors from a CD-ROM, and there you go.
Use the ones from the 101 Hero.
My big hope for this year, I guess, is just cheaper resin.
Yeah.
Factory like in China that I'd be able to buy it like imported for about, I think it worked out about 32 Australian dollars a litre, but I'd have to buy like a 55-gallon drum. But if I can buy a 55-gallon drum and import it for 30-something bucks a litre after tax, I'd be able to sell it to people in America for cheaper than what they can buy it locally.
No.
Like, that would be redonk.
Yeah, that's definitely been one downside to not getting one thing that's been keeping me from getting one, other than the price of getting a resin printer, $500 or more, give or take. The printer is your resin cost just to get the resin that you'll need for it is high. It's expensive. And that's just a downside to it, and it sucks for the people that have resin printers that, like, oh yeah, I can print this high quality, but it's going to cost me an arm and a leg to get a new thing of resin.
Well, how far does a liter of resin go? I mean, I wish Calvin were still here so we could answer the question, how does a liter of resin compare to a kilogram of filament?
Yeah, that's not something that I can answer for sure. But from what I've heard from other people, they tend to probably get more out of a bottle of resin. But whether they're directly comparing that in terms of model size from what they get out of a spool, it's a bit hard to say. For me, a liter of resin does go a fairly long way. Like, when you think I printed that massive Predator model, like, okay, I only got the torso, the arms, and the head done, and the armor and gun, but that wouldn't have even used half a liter, like probably not even a quarter of a liter. But that's because I tend to, hollow out my models and stuff.
Yeah, and that's what I've heard is hollow out your models. Otherwise, well, one, it's going to take forever, and two, you got to have the hole in the bottom whenever you hollow them out. Otherwise, you just got a whole bunch of liquids out.
Well, so here's an idea.
It doesn't actually matter the time, in terms of print time. Like, accidentally printed a completely solid version of my typewriter guy. Weighs a ton, but print time was no different to if I'd hollowed it because the way my printer prints basically projects an entire layer at once. If you did it on something like Moai, that probably would take a lot longer because having a hollow model, it's only got to trace the outside. If you have a solid one, it's got to do the entire thing. But yeah, for DLP, you get ounce of difference, except in terms of how much resin you use.
So here's an idea. Could we each take a model and slice it? I mean, yes, we're using multiple different methods, but if we used our slicers to slice the same model in different ways, could we kind of halfway calculate the amount of resin versus filament it would use?
I think we should be able to. My slicer tells me, I think it tells me how many milliliters it'll use. It definitely tells me a rough estimate of how much it would cost to print.
Yeah, my slicer does the same thing. Idea Maker tells me how long it should take, how much filament it should take, and how much it should cost.
Let me just load it up and see if it actually gives me a milliliter count.
Like maybe we could just slice like a 20 millimeter cube, this printed solid, and just compare between all the slicers.
That's doable. All right. Let's see. Let's go to Thingiverse because that's where you can totally get a cube.
But yeah, again, there will be differences between even DLP slicing programs because I can actually print things hollow without hollowing them out. Because my slicer does fancy stuff where it can basically make a shell of the model and print it with an infill as well, which is not something I've ever seen any other DLP printer do. And it
kind of cool.
Leaves it with like an open bottom as well. So if I just wanted to do like a really quick test, I can set the hollow thickness and set the infill thickness, and it basically just kind of does like a vase mode FDM print, but with infill lines throughout it, and you can set the gap between it. And that's not something I've seen any other program do yet.
Jimmy is in the house, guys.
Jimmy.
Yes, it's Wellbot. Wellbot is alive and kicking.
Sorry, I can't see the chat.
Look, Jimmy, look what I did for you. Type something.
What am I looking for?
I sent you a link, Jimmy. If you want to jump on in real quick, you can join us.
There goes this.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I get XYZ size, volume, milliliters, and cost. So yeah, we can easily do a comparison test if you like.
Yep, I'm opening the calibration cube.
Well,
Yeah.
are we doing a calibration cube? Or is that what we're doing?
I mean, it was a
model to.
I just designed a 20 millimeter cube in Fusion really fast, but I can download the calibration cube if that's the way you want to do it.
yeah. That's just what I
I
did.
just
So I
looked
didn't
up
have,
random STL.
yeah, I just grabbed a calibration cube, so I wasn't gonna kill my computer because it's old. It's old like Jimmy. All right. So what's the infill we want to do on this puppy?
We want to do just solid.
All right, 100% is. I'm gonna do no skirt, no brim, no nothing. And I'm gonna
So you just did 20 mil cube with no XYZ on it or anything like that. Just
I think he's talking about the XYZ calibration cube on Thingiverse. Do you know which one? I can post the link in the chat or whatever. Oh, I guess Robot doesn't have the chat, but
I'll send it to him on Twitter.
okay.
I will also send you the one that I grabbed as well.
Oh yeah, that's good because I was just looking and there's like 15 different calibration cubes on here. So.
Yeah, it's an XYZ 20 millimeter calibration cube. That's what I grabbed.
Oh, that's the one I was just about to download. So I'll download that real quick and run it through my slicer. Did you get yours done already, Aaron?
Yeah, I did run it through my slicer already.
What's the how many grams does it say?
9.9 grams. It says 3.31 meters, and it says it cost me 20 cents. It says it would take me an hour, 48 minutes, and 25 seconds for that.
How does it calculate the price? Because I mean, I've got I don't know how many different types of filament that all cost different amounts.
I mean, you can add in the cost of your actual spool of filament into the thing, which is
some slices have like filament profiles, don't they?
Yeah, mine does. I can go in and say this cost me this much per spool, that whatever, and it can do that. I don't think that I had done that. Let me go ahead and see.
Hey Jimmy, don't worry, man. Because Aaron's not monetized, right? So
yeah, that's fine. I'm not monetized. I don't have enough subs or views or anything.
So Jimmy, you're good, man. Don't worry about it. Give the people what they want to see, man.
I might get banned for that, Arrow.
Well, the sacrifices one must make for YouTube, you know?
Let me load that up.
Apologies to Shay if he's watching. I should be working on something, but I'm not. Oops. Where did I put that model? Where it is.
Aaron, do you use Maker Geeks filament?
I do. I have Maker Geeks. I've got a couple other things, but I've not paid for it. It's one things that I've entered in a contest and I've won, or one to where I've got some Polylite PLA for testing that they let me do. So that's how I got that. So I did a review on it. I've still got some of that left.
Loaded up the cube, and it says it'll use 7.7 milliliters, and the resin cost is $50 US per liter, which there's no way it would be. It'd be about 38 cents to print, completely solid.
So this one is obviously, so you get your grams, you get your milliliters or meters. Meters, I guess this one's on. The grams and meters. So that's what I have. So I got 9.9 grams and 3.31 meters.
Well, from what Wellbot said, 7.7 milliliters. Is that what you said?
Yep.
So that's almost 130 cubes per liter of resin, and I got 10 grams, which means I could print. What is that? 100. I could print 100, so he could print about 30 more cubes than I could. Aaron got 9.9.
That's if it's solid.
That's if we printed it solid. So that's 101. So we're looking at a liter will stretch maybe almost 30% further than a spool of filament, 1 kilogram. Does that sound about right?
Yeah, that sounds about right. And that's without any fails.
Without any fails.
Yeah, so not including, on the filament spool. One, you got to, purge some out, and then you got to redo it if it fails.
Right, but with resin, you need more supports, don't you? At least to attach to the build plate. Do you print vertically onto your build plate, or do you have to add in those tree supports?
We've got a top-down one.
Yeah,
right.
mine's different. The hanging ones, I would assume, probably need a little bit more support. And from what I've seen, whether they're going overboard or not, but most of the prints I've seen use a hell of a lot compared to what I use. Most of the time, like, I don't know if you've ever seen photos of some of my prints, like I use supports that are less than 1 millimeter thick sometimes. For my for the little Maker's Muse Christmas tree thing that I did, I used some sort of sacrificial supports just to raise it off the base, and they were 0.4 millimeters thick.
So if my calculations are right, which I'm a highly qualified math and science teacher, thank you very much. So they 100% are. It looks like the equivalent cost of a spool of filament to Wellbot's price on resin, that would mean we would be purchasing a spool of filament that cost about $38.50. So $38.50 for a spool of filament, which is pretty high, but at the same time, there are a lot of filaments that cost a lot more than that.
Yeah.
There's a lot of resins that cost a lot bloody more than what I said. I've seen some resins for close to $160 a litre, which I would never, ever pay unless somebody prepaid specifically to use that resin, because that's just nuts.
That's crazy. Oh. My wife would kill me.
Yeah.
Ah, babe, I spent $160 on this. Well, how big is it? It's like this big.
I mean, most resins cost on an average about $80 a litre US.
Yeah.
Some of them are about 60, but yeah, 80 seems to be kind of the average.
I've seen some down to 60 or
which
some
is
at 50.
why I would be so stoked if I could get that stuff for, like, I think it worked out about $28 US my cost per litre, $32 Australian.
Yeah,
that's just crazy cheap. But it cost me like 10 grand for the first batch, I think. Well, not 10 grand, maybe 8.
still, that's a lot.
I have to buy a 55-gallon drum.
Well, you know what you need to do is you need to put together a Kickstarter campaign like the 3D printing professor did with the low poly dinos.
I thought about it.
Man, you come up with something and you just sit there and model stuff all day long. I mean, he made like $6,000 off of that. And that really got him a big kickstart into getting into a new YouTube studio. You know, that's something you could think about, because modeling is obviously something you are good at. And really all you'd have to do, I mean, with those dinosaurs, a lot of them were like Triceratops. And so because they were part of the Topsy series, all you had to do is just change a few little things and boom, you got a new dinosaur.
Yep, and they were all low poly, so it's not like he had like a high quality model going out there.
Right.
Which not to put it down. I mean, being low quality print, you know, but they were still really cool.
Oh yeah, don't get me wrong. I mean, I was part of the Kickstarter. I got all those files and I printed so many dinosaurs for Christmas presents or whatever. And I mean, it was so worth it. It was really, really awesome. But I mean, yeah, it was a simple idea that made him some good money. You should think about it. I'd back you.
Thank you. Yeah, like it's definitely something I would consider doing. I think obviously he's got a bit of an advantage in terms of numbers of followers. I'm working on it, getting there. My followers have grown on Twitter, at least, you know, by a few hundred this year, which is pretty good because I kind of went up to a certain point and just stayed there for, I don't know, 5-6 years. And then, yeah, the past year I've managed to pick up tons more. So, you know, if I can get that and also boost my YouTube following as well, that's definitely going to become a viable thing. And definitely something I would consider doing too. Because it would be kind of cool.
Yeah, Jimmy says never underestimate your Twitter clout, and I totally agree. Totally agree with that. You know, when I was printing out all those dinosaurs for this Christmas present, I ran into a problem where I didn't have any brown filament to print the volcano, and so I just posted on Twitter, anybody know where I can get some good brown filament? And Calvin just tweeted out to Amaze 3D, AMZ 3D that sends Jimmy a lot of filament. It was like, hey, he's a teacher. Can you help him out, hook him up? And they sent me a personal message, and they sent me a free spool of brown filament. That was just an Amazon return. I mean, you never know what's going to happen when even when you're small time. I mean, I've got maybe 100 followers on Twitter. I've got like 130, subscribers on YouTube, but you know, even I got something for free from these companies. So
yeah, you got like probably 60 more followers on YouTube.
Well, but you gotta realize that I'm a teacher, and so I teach 8th grade science, and so whenever I tell my students, oh yeah, I have this YouTube channel, they all log on and they subscribe to my YouTube channel, but they don't watch any of my videos. So I don't know that you can really count them as true subscribers.
Well, you know, it's all a numbers game as far as YouTube is concerned.
Yeah, so I've got on my Twitter, I've got 78 followers. Some of that's probably spam, you know, those bots. And then on YouTube, I've got like 58. So, and that's as of recently. Just like the other day, I'd gotten another one on there. But it's like it goes up and then it comes down. It goes up and then it comes down. It's just like I don't have a consistent number.
That's kind of what mine was like for about.
Okay, so now it says 59.
Let me just double check, make sure I'm subscribed. No, we're good. Honestly, Aaron, right now on my screen, I'm watching the stream so I can keep up with the chat, and it says subscribed 58.
Yeah. So that's the thing, because I go through and I have my dash, my YouTube Studio on my phone. It says 59 on there, so it says +6. So I mean, there's been ups and downs on it, so I don't stick 100% to the studio there.
Well, Aaron, I'm making a resolution. I said it on the live stream that ridiculous, horrible. Oh, by the way, I just like anybody who watched my live stream, let me just apologize right now for the train wreck that was. It turned out I had no idea. Like, I was such an idiot. I had no idea. My internet had gone down. I'm supposed to have 100 meg internet speed, and my internet speeds were like 5, and so the stream was cutting out. It was messing up. I couldn't do a Google search. I mean, it was terrible. But so my apologies. I'm gonna make up for that in the future. But you know, I've made a resolution that starting the new year, I'm gonna post a new video every week, and you have to do that with consistency, even if the video is junk, even if it sucks. You got to do that consistently, at least once a week, post something or whatever in order to be valid, I guess, on YouTube.
Be like Ivan.
So Theresa says it's 59.
Well, there you go.
So Jimmy, porn bots do not rule. They suck. I hate them. They have been attacking me on Instagram lately. I get messages from like, hi, like it's just like, what is this? I click into it, it's like, come check out my site. I was like, nope, delete. I've gotten at least 10 in the past 2 weeks, I think.
I got a message on LinkedIn a few weeks ago from some Spanish filament supplier. And they're like, oh, would you like to be a distributor for us in Australia? And I'm like, do you even know me? What the hell am I going to do with filament? I mean, I'd love to just say, yeah, here's, $6,000. Send me a crap load of filament and I'll sell it. But I don't have that kind of money.
Yeah.
But also, I don't know anything about filament, and I can't even test it.
Yeah, for all you know, it's
and if he's heard of it, because being Spanish, he might have used them in the past.
Jimmy says the Spanish Fly PLA.
I can't remember. Let me have a look here.
And she says maybe they mistook you for JT.
They wouldn't have had.
Aaron, I think as far as your problem is concerned, I'm fairly certain that it's all because of the beard. I'm pretty sure.
What are you saying, Chris?
Well,
saying,
I'm saying the beard looks good, man. That's all I'm trying to say.
Okay. Well, there.
The beard looks good.
I turned it down.
Remember, that's how we got to do the stream, right, Aaron? Just get right in there.
All that hair there, that's like 2 weeks worth. Shit, man. I shave like once every couple of weeks if I'm lucky. I don't know.
I don't shave at all. Just trim.
I only do it because it doesn't grow fast enough to become beard worthy. It gets to that point where like one hair will be out here and another one will be out here and the rest are just like that. And I'm like, get off.
I just wait until my wife says, I'm not kissing you until you shave, and then I shave.
So
That's how it goes.
I don't have anyone kiss me anymore. So that's a problem.
So Theresa I got a notification that she subscribed, so thank you.
See, there you go. See, and my subscriber just moved up to 59.
Yay for subs.
So whenever my wife and I got together, I had the goatee. That's what I had.
And she still dated you.
She loved
Wow.
the goatee. She wanted me to keep it. Whenever I went to the beard or would shave it off, she did not like that. I didn't like shaving it off either because it just like it irritated my skin when it was trying to grow back. So I just leave it. So if I ever shave, I just trim it like all the way down so there's just stubble.
Like that filament thing from Spain was Sakata 3D, Polymersha Global. I've never heard of them.
Bryce, who are you asking the age to?
Okay.
Someone's asking how old. It says, how old are you?
How old am I?
Well, I don't know. It doesn't say who.
Well, let's just all answer. It's not like there's 100 of us.
I'm 40. Oh.
Me, I am 31 going on 32 next year, so in February. Actually,
I'll be 31 in May. So I'm 30, turning 31. Oh, you with the beard.
I'll be
There you
32. I'll be 32 Groundhog's Day actually. So
Bryce doesn't care how old I am, apparently. So
but yeah, once my wife actually got used to me having the beard, and so she really likes the beard. She doesn't like it when I let it grow out. The last time I was on with Jimmy, my beard was really puffy because I had it not trimmed down.
what you're saying is she doesn't like when she can see your seconds that are saved for later inside the beard.
Oh man, she does not. She does not. Which is like all the time anyway. She's like, you got something there. I was just like, I'm saving it for later.
Apologies in advance if my computer just craps itself because I'm about to do something I probably shouldn't do.
Yes, Jimmy, fear the beard. Yeah, I'm going to actually try to do a video every week. I mean, obviously with a a newborn baby, it makes it a little more difficult to do that. So I will try to start that. My wife told me I should do what oh, my brain's dead. Print 3D, I think it's a Print 3D messages. Well, what Jeffrey did.
Oh,
so
the Print 365.
Yeah. Said, oh, you should. This was obviously before we had the kid. Oh, you should, do them like every day like that. And I was just like, she's like, you can just like post it, on like Instagram or something. Which posting it is an easier thing to do. But I was just like, that's a lot. All right, Jimmy. Well, you have a good night, and we'll talk at you later, man.
We'll see you, Jimmy. Oh, hey, Jimmy, Merry Christmas, man. Sorry if I didn't get to tell you earlier. Merry Christmas,
Jimmy.
Jimmy.
Merry Christmas.
Yes, Merry Christmas to all.
Well, I as far as your Print 365 challenge that your wife's telling you about, I think if you could get good enough at doing something in one take that's just a couple minutes long, the biggest problem with making a video, and you guys know it, is having to edit it, especially if you make a lot of mistakes or if you're like me. I'm awkward in front of a camera, and so for me, it takes me 15 takes to be like, okay, now I need to actually be serious. And
I don't do much. Mine, like, I basically record the video, and then I'll record like the intro and outro together, and then I'll just splice those in front and behind. And that's pretty much what I do. Like, unless I'm doing a massive long tutorial, I pretty much just leave it. I don't know.
Yeah.
You're wrong.
I've done the same thing to where I've done the intro and the outro together, but I've also screwed it up. Like I could say like the one video I had done it like 15 to 20 times just doing the intro and the outro. That's not including the actual in between parts of the video that I had to constantly redo. And you'll actually watch some of my videos. You'll see me just going, well, there should have been an earth-shattering kaboom. Or just like, Evan to Megathread. Just a whole bunch of different voices because I'm screwing up left and right. And this is where I started on. I'm like, all right, let's do this video. And then I just go down. I'm
Just
like,
post whatever the crap I have right now.
I'm just like, this is pissing me off. And then I get so far through it, I'm like, yes, this is what I'm saying right. And then all of a sudden I screw up, and I'm just like, ah.
I think the one time that I had to do some editing, I actually forgot, and I uploaded the video, and it wasn't till like it was about 2 minutes away from finishing uploading that I decided to check something, and I realized that I'd like just disappeared in the middle of it for 5 minutes to go to the toilet. So I just stopped it, edited that bit out, and started again.
Willbot
Nice.
coming at you live from the water closet.
Yeah, that was classic. I was just like sitting there and posting on Twitter going, fuck, I'm an idiot.
So you know how Angus from Maker's Muse talks about how he was always not very talkative, not very outgoing, just kind of shy. So that's part of the reason why he started his YouTube channel, was to kind of bring himself out and then be less awkward at the same time. I was just like, I'm the same way. So I mean, for me to do the videos is challenging at times. So I'm just like, all right, I really don't have it in me to do these videos that I want to do, or like I want to do this video, but then I'm just like, I'm not feeling it one bit at all to do anything. Or I film something and I'm just like, I hate this. It turned out crappy, and I'm not gonna post it. I've actually got videos I've filmed. I've got to find more footage from one of them. I redid my kitchen table earlier in the year, and then I also redid the chairs for it. And being that I got all that done, and we got reupholstered everything. Well, I can't find the video for me redoing the table. The main component to it, I can't even find. And I'm just like, son of a buck. And I've got, I've started other ones that I've not been able to finish. Like, I'm doing this shelving to set my wood on in my shop. And I started it the 29th of September. And that's the night that my wife went into labor early, 6 weeks.
Well, that was a really good time. Start on something like that.
I've also got video of fixing my my jointer, my planer jointer, and then actually doing some on that I've got to do. And so that leads into also doing for the video of doing the shelving for the wood to go on. Because I take some 2x4s and I'm planing down one side to make it flat, to have a nice flat surface that I can put a level on test. to get it all nice and level all the way across. But then again, I gotta have time to do that.
At least something underway though.
Well,
Yeah.
so let me ask this question, because I am one of those people that I do this amazing project. I'll spend, I'll wake up in the morning and be like, oh, I really need to do this. And I'll go and do this amazing project. And then when I'm all done, I sit there and go, I should have filmed that. That would have been a really cool video.
I've the same thing. Actually, my gear tutorial video that I did for fixing the that printer I got on my YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
I actually have a video of me putting that gear, the 3D printed gears in that I need to do.
Well, at least you videoed it.
Yes, that's true. I was having such problems with it. So that's the only reason it's not done, is because some of it is done with a DSLR and my GoPro. So the DSLR is filming the regular stuff and the GoPro is up above. I can't edit the DSLR video in the GoPro software. It just crashes every single time. So I was like, well, what does Calvin use? Calvin's using this. Okay, well, I'll try that. I can't even put like an editing software on my laptop. It hits me so much. So that's one reason why a lot of the videos are not done, is I literally can't edit them. I have to upload it to Dropbox and put it onto my phone and segment it on my phone in iMovie. And then that's just a lot of footage to go through on a phone, going like, for doing the in and outs.
Well, your first problem is you've got an Apple. So let's start there with the whole problem. But no, just kidding. What? Well, like here's my question though. So, for example, my brother used to work for Red Bull, and he got, you go to the gas station and Red Bull sometimes will have those like big Red Bull cans. There's like a cooler and it has like a bunch of Red Bulls inside of it. That for you to buy right there by the register, that are nice and cold, whatever. So my brother got his hands on one of those coolers and gave it to my parents for free. So, but the problem is, one day they were wheeling it from their house to my house, because I live next door, and one of the caster wheels busted off of it. So now it doesn't stand up straight. So I just measured how high it was, and I 3D printed a leg that's the same height as what the caster wheel was, and I just screwed it onto the bottom. And when I finished, I was like, man, that would have been a great video. So here's my question is it okay for me to reenact this thing that I've already done in order to make a video of it?
I don't see why not.
Yeah, I would totally do that. Like,
well, what you can do is, have you watched I Like to Make Things? I Like to Make Stuff?
Mm-hmm.
Bob?
I've seen a few.
So what he does is he go, in this video, we're going to do this. So you can start off like, in this video, I'm going to model and 3D print the leg for this Red Bull container holder. And then you can just go in and just remodel it. And if you want to go and print it out, you can print it out. I mean, it's plastic that you're just going to print out, and who knows, the leg may break, another one of those may break, you'll have it back up.
Yeah, I've done stuff kind of like that with things, because there was one time I was recording a tutorial in Fusion or something, and I got to the end of it and realized that it had stopped about 5 minutes into it. And I was like, oh, I'm not doing that again. So I just like went through and stepped through the various stages of me doing it, rather than, reenacting the whole thing.
Who does that is Devin Montez, again, for Make Anything. He does that when he goes through his tutorials. He'll go in Fusion. He'll just go back through the timeline and he'll just go through step by step. First I did this, then this, then this, and a lot of times he'll just like time lapse it, so it's just super fast, and he just talks over it.
Yeah. If it's something that's kind of reasonably simple, and you're just kind of showing more the creative aspect of it rather than the technical, doing something like that's fine. There's been a few times where I've made stuff and there have been kind of technical things that I know that people would ask me how to do, and I've kind of thought, oh, I should have recorded myself making this model. But it's not the kind of thing that I could just go back and
Do again.
say, I did this step, and then this was the next thing. Like, you'd have to actually show the process of like doing those steps, not just kind of running through them one by one.
You could do like if you were to just record your screen, you just model it. You don't have to record any audio, whatever. Just record your screen modeling the actual thing, and then you could like time lapse the parts that don't really matter, and then when you get to a technical part that you want to describe, just voice over it.
Yeah, the problem is I always forget to start recording because like a couple of the programs that I use do have like, because I use the NVIDIA video card capture to do my recording, and a couple of the programs just pop this little slider up on the side, sort of saying, bring up the overlay or hit whatever to record, but some of the others don't trigger it, and the ones that don't trigger it are the ones that I use the most. So generally I just never think of it until I'm about 3/4 of the way down. I'm like, oh, I should have recorded it. Oh.
Yeah, I've done the same thing. Well, I have got a video up there that I did for the mower that was left at my house whenever we bought our house, and I 3D printed it, and it was a simple model. I had gone over it and just redid everything again for the video, and then put it all on, and just kind of replaced the little piece that needed to be replaced, and that was it. I mean, it was more, the biggest part of the video was me actually putting stuff on there. I just moved my camera into different spots and I had it going fast for time lapse. That was it. And actually, I used my phone for all that because I couldn't find my my SD card for my GoPro.
I'd probably have a lot more content up on my site if I actually remember to record things. That's my biggest problem. Like, I often have the ideas to put up, but I'll think about it ahead of time, and then I'll just sit down to kind of work on the model or something and completely forget to record it. And by the time I'm finished, I'm like, oh, no, stuff it.
Carissa said Sculpt and OBS don't work well together on her PC. It makes baby Jiva sad.
OBS doesn't do computer.
Yeah, I don't have that problem with a lot of the stuff I do. I mean, obviously mine's an older laptop. I do Blender now and again. I was waiting for the new interface for Blender to come up this year, and so they finally released it. My computer won't work with it because it's an older computer and it just doesn't want to work. But OBS works fine. I can do that, and Fusion 360. I mean, Fusion will lag now and again on certain things, but it just depends on how high quality my model is going to be. Well, the UI for Blender what you had experienced before was different than the new UI now. So I really like the new UI. I just can't use it.
Yeah, I don't like. They're making strides with the new UI. Like, I've actually, for the first kind of time ever, actually used Blender for something in the last little while, because there's certain functions that it can do, not perfectly, but better than other programs. Still has its issues, but yeah, like that UI, although it's markedly better than it was in 2.7, in many ways it's worse as well. Like, they've improved a hell of a lot about the layout and that sort of thing, but they've also hidden a lot of shit.
Yeah.
Like, it used to just be a little thing on the screen where if you had a bunch of vertices selected, it'd tell you how many you had selected. I can't find where that is for love nor money. I've tried doing online searches in help and tried asking people, and nobody seems to know where you find that.
You can ask Andrew Price. He should know, the Blender Guru.
Who, sorry?
Blender Guru. His name is Andrew Price. He has done Blender longer than I have. I mean, he makes a living off of it. So that's one you could probably ask. So yeah, he is on YouTube and Twitter. So if you go through and just find them, actually, I can see.
Yeah, it's like just minor things like that. Like, it's not even a function really. It's just the display thing.
Yeah.
It's the little things like that that really peeve me about Blender. It's like every other program I use has stuff like that on screen all the time. But Blender just hides stuff away, and it's annoying.
Yeah, that makes it. That's one thing I didn't like about the other user interface that they had. It made it difficult for me to do what I needed to do because I couldn't figure it out. It's like they changed it all of a sudden. I was like, ah, crap, what do I do? So that just made it just. I didn't want to do it. So there's also Blend Nation, Blender Nation. You can do. They'll probably know.
Blender Nation, did you say?
Yeah, Blender Nation.
Yeah, no, that's one of the places that I searched, and like, strangely, in 2.8, you look something up in help file, or you go through the menu and you click help, and it takes you to the website where the help documents are, specific for 2.8, marked on the front page, help version 2.8, and yet all of the info contained within it is for 2.7. All the screenshots for that, and none of the information matches up with it. I'm like, what is the point in having a dedicated help site for the new beta version if all the info is from the bloody previous one?
Yeah, that does not help.
The question is, do you have an Apple phone? Because that's probably it.
No. Oh, I don't have anything Apple. Not even. I used to work for a company that fixed PCs and Macs. I refused to work on them. Nasty. Not my cup of tea. Sorry, JT. Not sorry.
Oh, by the way, Chris, I like the shirt.
Oh, hey, thank you. This
It's
actually
like nerds.
robot fight. Yeah, have any of you guys heard of what's his name? Mechanical Ninjaneer. There's a small YouTube channel called Mechanical Ninjaneer, and it's a guy that lives just a couple hours away from me, and he 3D prints and fights robots, like 2 or 3 times a year or whatever. And he does some crazy projects. He built an above ground pool at his house by digging the hole by hand with a pick and shovel, and in the middle of Phoenix heat, by the way, might I add. And so he was able to build an above ground pool for like $40. But he did a time lapse of him actually doing the work, and it's like, man, that's just insane. It's crazy.
That is nuts.
Yeah. Wouldn't catch me doing that. I am going to have to abandon you for
Oh,
a
that's
minute.
all right.
I'll be back very soon.
Okay. All right, now we can smack talk Wellbot.
Let's talk about the man bun, huh?
Oh, jeez. I've got a friend that he's cut his hair, and it's long but short on the sides. Now he's got a little ponytail man bun in the back up on top. I'm just like, oh man.
I got a student that at the beginning of the school year he had a man bun, but his parents convinced him to join the wrestling team. He's kind of a rough and tumble kid, and his parents convinced him that he should join the wrestling team and kind of get some of his aggression out. And he's been really good at it, but it's not an approved hairstyle for wrestling, and so he had to cut it off. And the day that he walked in without that man bun, oh man, he was just distraught. Like, you'd think that he was Samson or something, you know? Can't wrestle ever again without his man bun.
Oh, that's
Cut his hair.
hilarious. Oh, that's funny. I may have to try that out, Teresa, at some point in time, whenever I get a new laptop. So, I'm actually looking at getting a gaming laptop. Would be nice, just for the expandability on that. Will actually handle doing 3D modeling a whole lot better than my laptop does now. So.
Yeah. I was on Walmart's website the other day and I found, yes, I understand. I mean, it's a Walmart laptop, but I found a laptop that was amazingly good for the price. It was like $300, but it had like a quad core processor and a terabyte hard drive, and it had, I want to say it had 8 gigabytes of RAM or something. And I was like, man, this actually looks like a decent laptop, but I can't find it now. If I find it, I'll shoot you the link to it, man.
Teresa says, no, not Walmart computers.
Well, yeah, I mean, Walmart computers aren't great. I understand. But you know, have you seen the computer Aaron has right now, Teresa? That's all I'm trying to say. I mean, if you'd seen his laptop right now, I mean, there's a reason why he's not doing this stream from his house right now. I'm saying.
There's a reason why I'm leaning in to my computer to do this.
There's a reason why this is what Aaron's feed looks like right now. I mean,
Yeah, it's got issues, to say the least. But I actually plan on keeping it and not recycling it. I'm going to completely redo this laptop. And Garth is back.
I am.
I'm going to completely redo this laptop and have it set up for my CNC machine that I'm going to be building.
like a dedicated computer for your machine.
Yep.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I have an old dinosaur computer dedicated to my printer. Painfully slow. But
What about if you go back and look at any of the footage of while you were gone? I just want you to know that was all Aaron's idea.
I'm definitely
Anything
not
said
getting
about you.
monetized.
a little bit of chatter, but I don't care. What I don't know won't hurt me. There's plenty I don't know. So.
Well, I guess we should. Let's see what she says. You said that she had a crappy Toshiba. Yeah, I'm not gonna touch a Toshiba. I've had a brother that's gotten a Toshiba that I've had to fix before for him like numerous times. So I'm not gonna touch them.
Whatever it is, I bet it's not as crappy as my laptop.
I don't know. My laptop is fairly crappy now.
My laptop is an Acer Pentium 4.
That's an antique. That's a relic, man.
Pretty much the only thing it runs these days is Game Boy emulators. It still runs XP.
I'm surprised it actually runs that.
Yeah. It's a bit of a dinosaur. I don't need anything special though, because I don't really go away that much that I actually need one.
I custom built my computer. I built it for gaming with the understanding that I was going to use it to render videos. So, I mean, it was the best that I could afford at the time. If I were to buy this pre-built from the store, it probably cost me $2,000, and I was able to build it for about $800. So,
yeah, I'm looking at a gaming.
Let's put mine.
Let's see which one I'm looking at.
One advantage of having worked in IT for like 20 years, though. You know where to get the stuff and you know how to put it together.
It's true.
Unfortunately, I don't know how to export stuff properly.
So I'm looking at possibly getting the Acer Nitro 5.
Fast. Nitro.
So it's kind of what I'm looking at. Because, I mean, if I'm going to be doing modeling and everything, it's going to be plugged in. My battery life on this thing is like maybe 30, 45 minutes. So anything above that is a bonus for me right now. Uh, and it drains fast. Like I'll have issues. Like I'll plug it in and charge and like walk away, and then I come back to it, you know, hours later, expecting it to be charged so I can like unplug it and move it if I need to. And it says no charge to the battery. Like I've got to like completely like pull out the battery and unplug the entire thing and put it all back in to get it to start charging.
Mine's so old it doesn't work unless it's plugged into the wall.
Yeah. So
Yeah, I used to teach in a different school district, and the school district that I used to teach at had all Apple computers, and so they gave me an Apple MacBook Pro to use as like my school computer. And so I learned how to use it. As much as I hated Apple, iMovie is probably the only good thing that Apple has ever made, I think. But I changed school districts over the summer, and when I changed school districts, I went from having a MacBook Pro, which as much as I hated it, was a newer computer. I mean, I got it brand new, and I went to having a laptop that was old when they outdated XP and they just updated it to Windows 7, even though it's got the old processor and everything. And so I've got this, I've got a desktop and a laptop. And if I don't get to school at least 20 minutes early to turn the computer on, then I can't take attendance because it takes at least 20 minutes just to turn the stupid thing on so I can take attendance in the morning.
wow.
Yeah. I used to work for a school, and the entire school was not much better than that in terms of technology, which is kind of sad considering it was a remote education facility. So basically, the teachers taught over the internet, and all the computers were shit. But that's the government for you.
There you go.
They're definitely spending money.
I do like iMovie for editing movies. So the iMac that I have, I actually got that for free, and it works great. It's not got a lot of space on it. The problem I have is I had purchased secondhand for like $200 bundle for like uh, editing software for movies, and you get iMovie, you get After Effects, you get all that stuff. Well, because it's older, and my Mac now that says, "Oh yeah, we can't put that on there because this is out of date, so you can't have this on there." And so iMovie, oh yeah, you can't do iMovie on there because of this. Or so like, all right, well, I'll just download iMovie onto it. Yeah, it's gonna cost me $50 to get iMovie, which possibly won't work. Which I'm just like, like you're just screwing everybody over, guys.
Well, that is Apple's game, you know? That's exactly why I hate Apple, because it's not cross compatible with anything. I mean, you can't plug in a freaking laptop. I mean, you can't plug in a freaking projector. You can't do anything with it unless you spend, $80 on a adapter just so you can plug in a cord. I mean, it's ridiculous. And then once they come out with a newer version, they completely shut down the older model, so you can't update anything. So they force you into purchasing the next model higher. And so I don't know. I can't ever see myself purchasing an Apple anything, really.
And so I've got obviously an iPhone, and I like my iPhone. I use it for multiple things. I do videos with it, and a bunch of other things on it. But I don't use Android phones. I've used them. I've not liked them as much. This is an easier layout, and I don't know. I like my iPhone. I'm going to stick with an iPhone more than likely. I mean, if there's another phone that did pretty much the same layout that wasn't like Android based, because you get your Kit Kat and all that other stuff that they do, but those ones become out of date fast. It's just like your cell phone nowadays; they want you to update to the new phone. Just say upgrade to the new phone, and I'm just like, I don't want to do that. Like, oh yeah, you've got your eligibility to upgrade your phone now. Like, yeah, but I've had my phone for a while and I don't need to get rid of it. It works fine. So I hate how it's a throwaway society that we've come to nowadays. That something doesn't work super good, you just get rid of it.
I was using my Samsung Galaxy S1 until last year. As long as the phone works and the SMS works, I don't give a shit, because I've never been able to use apps and stuff because my phone's always been too old, so I just don't care. I've got no reason to use it on my phone anyway.
My wife has an iPhone, and I think the biggest issue that I have with my wife's iPhone is there's no back button. Like I mean that's the biggest issue I think with any phone is you do something, oh crap, I accidentally clicked the wrong link or something. Let me just click back. Oh wait, I can't.
Are you talking about like on like your web browser?
On anything. On my phone, all I have to do is just click back, and I can go back from any point, whatever I'm doing. Just click back, and there I am. On Apple, it's like I shouldn't have to search for it. That's all I'm saying. Shouldn't have to search for it. It should just be there.
No, I understand what you're saying. Yeah, there's no, just step back. So that is a downside to it. But I don't have one of those phones, so I'm used to not having to do that.
And I think that's what it is if you get an iPhone for your very first ever smartphone, then you just kind of get used to it. And so that's what you kind of continue to go for. You get an Android for your first one. And people who are kind of in the IT community, like Wellbot, I mean, you could probably attest to this, but one of the reasons why I went to Android instead of Apple is because it's a little more open source. You have a little more flexibility with the apps and things you're able to download, whereas Apple's kind of locked that down. It keeps you from getting viruses, but at the same time, it kind of inhibits some of the things you're able to do.
Oh no, and I understand. And you can jailbreak an iPhone, which obviously voids the warranties on them, which is fine. But I've not needed to do that with my phone. I mean, I can do a bunch of different things with it that I need to do or want to do right now. And I know there's a little more flexibility with an Android phone that you can do things with for like IT wise. But I like mine. I've messed with a lot of Android phones, and like my wife's grandma, she had an Android phone, and trying to tell her what she needs to do for this, that, and the other on it. It's like, this is what you do here. This is what you do here. This is how you change this setting. This is how you change that setting. So she finally got an iPhone, and that's one really good thing. iPhones, they're just like straightforward. This is what you do. This is what you do to get to here. There's no this, that, and the other. Kind of dive through all these circles for an old person to tell them what to do, and then finally getting it squared away. So, and
I'm glad you think that way.
and the accessibility, like they've got the accessibility for like seeing impaired. So it will, my wife, she had two jobs until this year. She quit her second job, which was with seeing impaired kids. So every month, the first Saturday of the month, we would go and do stuff with seeing impaired kids. So we would have events for them. We could take them go karting, bowling, and all this other stuff. Um, some that are low vision, some that have no vision at all. And one that has no vision at all, she has an iPhone, and she likes to like go through her music or whatever, and you just hear it saying, like Green Day. It says what song it was, whatever. So it talks to them and tells them what they've selected, where they're at. So if they don't want to select it instantly, they just keep moving on. So going to their apps or going to their contacts. So that it helps with that. That's one thing I really like about it.
I think if you've got a partner that's got an iPhone, it probably is better, unless you're the one who knows what you're doing and has the Android, that you both go with the iPhone. Because I know that several of my friends, they've had one on the other, and everything's just been kind of a shitstorm in terms of technology until they both decided to get the phones, like the same phone, and everything just gelled since then. My sister included. She just decided to go Apple one day, and yeah, everything just stopped being a problem for them in terms of compatibility, I guess.
Yeah. So one thing that sucks. So on iPhone, you can do FaceTime from iPhone to iPhone. Well, you can't do that from iPhone to Android. But what you can do is you go over Facebook Messenger and then just do the face call that way, which is the only way around that, or just use like a separate app, which sucks. There's that whole cross compatibility thing that they all don't do, you know. So you can call each other on a phone, but if you want to talk face to face, you've got to literally have the exact same phone. You're calling from an iPhone to an.
Or you could use Google Hangouts.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Or you have to use an app.
What's FaceTime but an app, right?
Oh, no, not on an iPhone. It's automatic. It's just kind of there. It's like you call somebody or you call somebody with the camera. So, but it's still going over their cell phone number. Like the Jetsons. So.
Well, Aaron, I hate to break it to you, man, but where I am, it's about 1 o'clock in the morning, and my phone's at like 5% right now.
It's almost 2 o'clock here, so.
Yeah, but you're at work, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, you're supposed to be up.
True.
I'm supposed to be in bed. I'm an old man now, you know.
I do know.
I broke 30. I broke 30. I got 2 kids. I'm old, man. I'm supposed to be in bed.
Get out from me lane.
All right. Well, we will wrap this up so the old man can get himself tucked in the bed.
Hey, thanks, there, Sonny.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for joining in and chatting. So thank you, Garth and Chris. Hope you all have a great time, and I'll talk to you guys later.
And we'll see you, Aaron.
Later.
Catch you later.